What's up, chat? It's your boy Hobo Drobo, and today we're trolling with the big man himself, Ingvar Bearclaw. And this guy is actually really cool. I've been playing with him a lot in Onslaught over the last couple days, so we'll be going over a few of those matches. And what I found about his kit that was the most interesting was that all of his abilities, this AoE, calling in reinforcements, and then even activating his bear form, allows you to not have to place heavy artillery down. So instead of using the Dwarven artillery, I'm using Tesla and the Sorcerer Mage, and hopefully we can get some good synergy with that going. Otherwise, I'm also using the Barbarian Hall, because Bearclaw's passive ability, 3% increase Bear Axe damage, pretty nice, not crazy, but it's definitely a nice little boost. So let's hop into our first match here against Anto. And this is a difficult match because obviously Ice Gult can freeze my Bearclaw, freeze my Barbarians, and so that makes it so that I have to place other towers down. But there's a very specific reason that I pick Royal Archers over Musketeers, and this match showcases that perfectly. Obviously, we both get the dragon on wave 1, and I know sending a dragon towards Ice Gult is pretty unfair because it's difficult for him to hit air troops, but considering I'm using a melee hero, this guy has no excuses, and he's got Musketeer, so you're going to see, if you saw my Bandits Lair video yesterday, we're going to continue that trend of separating the dragon from all the other troops. And that can be a little bit difficult, but luckily in this beginning round, it's very simple. I'm going to stun that dragon, get a lot of damage with those Royal Archers, lightning it, and then it's already taken off the board. Meanwhile, his dragon is basically still full health. I place a Sorcerer on the bottom. However, I can also place a Tesla there if needed. It's really just depending on what boosters come out. This map is really difficult as well because you need to be paying attention to those boosters, and like you can see here, they didn't have those Musketeers down, and so Anto isn't able to kill the dragon, and I'm able to get an easy round 1 off of him. Anto's plan here is actually very risky. He's going for that high-level Archmage right away to try and dissipate troops from his side to my side. Anto knows what he's doing for the most part. He's going to try and get that Ice Scout over there early to try and separate the troops from the dragon, although he should have waited a little bit because then the dragon just targets the Ice Scout and then he's forced to micro him out of the way. And so you can see me, I have my Ingvar at the top rather than the bottom because I just need him to clean up those troops while all my towers take care of the dragon, they take care of the other troops going through. And then this is a big strategy that I have with Ingvar. Since he has so much value on his own, if there's a wave where there's only ground troops going through, I really try and put him over there and let him deal with everything by himself until I'm forced to place those Barbarians down like you just saw. So really just maximizing the amount of value you can get from him is where a lot of his strengths come in because he is so effective on the ground. And you'll see in some of our later matches, one of his best strengths is actually taking out Broodmothers. And Broodmothers are difficult for almost any hero to deal with. Allura struggles with them, even dragons struggle with them. And so that's what I really liked about Ingvar, is that he was able to take out Broodmothers like they were nothing. But sometimes it can be difficult for him to lock on the target that you want him to, like you just saw there, where that little goblin sneaked through, even though I wanted him to prioritize that target. But it's not always too much of a problem, and if you can get him locked onto the Broodmother, it's a lot of value right away. And so although Anto's Ice Gult goes down, he does a nice job of getting those Musketeers up in different spots, allowing him to get that pick damage over time on the dragon as well as the other troops, and we get a draw in this round. And so I'm going to pick the Orc Shamans here again because I really want to disrupt him, although I do need to be careful just in case he does try and dissipate them from his side to my side. Although I'm not too worried because at least I have those Archer towers up so that I can take them out easily if I need to, compared to if I had sent the Golems. That's really difficult for me to deal with in this current setup, so I figured that was a better case. And if anything, the Shamans can get to where his Archery Scouts are and take those Archery Scouts out, and then if the dragon gets powered up, the dragon will just go right through because there's nothing to take it out. And that's basically what my offense is. And for my defense, again, I'm separating that dragon from the other troops. It goes down pretty nicely, and then just holding on for as much as I can. Luckily, Ingvar is able to spawn in some of those other reinforcements and get a lot of nice value in that area where I need it to be. But I do need to start getting towers up in those other two spots, and I prefer a Sorcerer Mage because there are some high HP tanky troops like that Ogre coming down the lane, and that gave me a lot of troubles. You can see here, he's going right through, a lot of health left, and so I'm forced to micro Ingvar down there, get the Barbarians over there, and that can be really troublesome because I put a lot of my value on that bottom lane, and I'm really scrapping by in that top lane. But that is something you need to do with this strategy, 100%, if you're even going to attempt it. And I usually don't like when heroes have abilities like the bear form that only activate once your hero gets past a certain point in their health. And I don't like that because ideally you don't want your hero to get lower in health. You know what I mean? Like, you want to keep them up. But for bear form here, I feel like it's actually pretty useful, only being at that 60% mark. And it's a lot more useful than something like Grimson and Kingdom Rush Alliance. I just feel like I can never get enough value from that, because I never want Grimson to get that low in the first place. Sorry, Grimson fans, he's just not for me. But here, we're approaching round 4, and now you can see that his Ice Scald goes down more often than he would probably like, although I'm barely holding on here 1 to 2. And so I'm thinking, all right, I have to win in this round. I need to make sure that dragon gets through, and so I'm able to power it up with the booster slots, thankfully. But Anto, again, making a crucial mistake here and leaving his Ice Scald a little bit too close to where that shaman is and where the dragon is, and it just goes down right away. And not having your Ice Scald up for 20 seconds mid-round is not enough for you to be able to come back and have enough value from your towers. And so that allows the shamans to walk through, it allows the dragon to walk through, and it makes it so that I can get a lot of value on my side just by keeping Bearclaw up. And you can see he's in his bear form, so he's going crazy. And as long as I'm able to stop that top row from coming down, look at how much they're dealing with. And unfortunately, they are going to get a nice dissipate here and send a lot of troops to my side, but because he's not able to deal with that dragon fast enough, look at how close he is to the exit. And so he's going to fire right at that Ice Scald. They have the shaman backing him up, and this is exactly what I was hoping. I was hoping that shaman was going to back up the dragon, and that's what we see here. Taking out the archery scout so that now there's nothing in that area for the dragon to get taken out. And this is very crucial because, again, I said at the very beginning, Anto's plan was to put that Archmage down and get the dissipates going. And so since I was able to pick the dragon with the shamans, it was able to completely take advantage of the fact that he has 2 Archmages right next to each other. They're going to get no damage on that dragon. Everything else is going to walk through like it's nothing. And even though I'm dealing with a lot of troops on my side, he had that risk on his side from the beginning. And so he knew that he had to take me out right away, otherwise he wasn't going to be able to defend. And so this is a nice example of making sure that you're countering boosters in the early round before you buy your win condition. Don't buy your win condition too early, otherwise it may bite you in the ass. Now let's check out a map against our old friend Blossom here. And Blossom is a really good player, although I am going to troll him a little bit in this match. We played each other before, and he cooked me right away. I think I've played him multiple times in Stadium as well as in Onslaught, and so I can definitely appreciate his playstyle and what he's able to do. Although, here, I was able to catch him off guard, and again, I am able to send him a dragon, but no excuses if I'm using Bearclaw. Allura is really good against dragons, and so since I've been saying there's a lot of easy ways to separate those dragons from the other boosters as long as you have it in your kit, like Icy Zone or like Ice Scald, as long as you place the towers that are able to take out those boosters, it shouldn't be any problem at all. Now, Blossom is a good player, but they made one crucial mistake in this first round, and that was picking the ghosts over the shamans. And so I'm not sure why they picked the ghosts over the shamans. I think they figured that they have like the Glacial Druid, maybe they could combine it with the Frost Giant, get some nice swarm going and overpressure me. But I've tried overpressuring my opponents on this map and it doesn't really work out too well, so I go with the shamans right away. And they should have picked the shamans too, because shamans or any stun ability completely take out Bearclaw. That's one of his biggest weaknesses. If you're able to get something like the Tesla upgrades that stun, and I'll show you that in our last match, it completely shuts down Bearclaw and there's nothing he can do. But now you get to see how effective Bearclaw is against those Broodmothers. I mean, his kit is just so well-rounded. The reinforcements take care of the little spiders that pop out. His AoE takes care of everything walking past the Broodmother. And then his bear form, if he needs to, just goes and does extra damage right away. And so that Broodmother is already taken out. Meanwhile, even with Blossom struggling here, trying to micro his Allura around, isn't able to get enough value, and I take another early round off of him. So I'm going to pick the dragon here, because he's going to have nothing to do with it. The Allura is really good for dealing with dragons, especially level 1. It's basically nothing, but since they only have Glacial Druids and Necromancers and a couple Teslas, there's not much they can do to actually counter everything coming their way. The Broodmother is going to be too much, the Shaman's going to be too much, and then the dragon is just the cherry on top. And so what I really like to do on this map is I like to have that Sorcerer in the middle there, getting those curses on troops, then getting the Tesla on the right side and getting that damage in. That synergy is very nice, but then I also have the 4 Royal Archers, as well as a 5th one on top. And those Royal Archers are really crucial for dealing with things like dragons, or like the flying troops that go through, and then even these Broodmothers. Since they're magic resistant, the Royal Archers do a lot of damage to it. And so I'm able to move Bearclaw over after dealing with that other lane. I'm able to take care of the Broodmother as well as the ghosts right away. The Royal Archers are just going crazy. Meanwhile, there's not much Blossom can do here to recover. He does a nice job trying. His micros aren't too bad, but again, there's just too much, and he doesn't have the right towers placed to be able to counter it. And we come up with another win. Now, let's get into some Bearclaw versus Bearclaw action against Trump here. And oh boy, I was excited for this match because I was like, let's go, I'm facing another Ingvar player. Maybe they actually know how to play this champ, and maybe I can pick up on a few things. And that's exactly what happens here. And Trump here is most definitely an experienced player because he completely catches me off guard in round 1. He puts his Ingvar right at the portal, right where that Broodmother comes out, taking it out right away, while my normal setup is leaving Ingvar at that bottom left lane to deal with those troops that are coming out, but that was just not the right play. He completely swarms me. I'm not able to get damage on that Broodmother, even with my spell cycle, enough to be able to keep up with what he's doing. And that's what really made me realize how much damage this hero can put out. And this was the first time I saw somebody use Ingvar this effectively, and it made me think, maybe there is actually a spot for this hero in the meta. You just have to know how to use his strengths and weaknesses to the fullest. And Trump clearly knows how to do that. So I'm going to test his resilience, see how he rises to the occasion by sending him a dragon this way. I low-key felt bad sending him a dragon, but at the same time, I'm showing no mercy. This player clearly knows what he's doing, and I want to see how he adjusts and see what he would do if a dragon was sent his way. And the first thing Trump does is actually place down an artillery after that. I was a little bit surprised. I would have thought that he would have placed at least an archer tower of some sorts in the middle there, but I'm thinking that he wanted to get that extra damage on the Broodmother coming in right away. But now you can see that dragon's going right through, and he does put the Royal Archers down, so he does do a nice job of recognizing that, but it's not going to be enough, and that artillery was really the deal breaker there. He should have placed another Royal Archers, and he does put one in the back, but it should have been where that artillery was so that he could take out the dragon before the round ended. I really like this setup on this map. Those 4 Royal Archers at the bottom just do so much work. Having a little bit of extra damage from the Barbarians is nice for that bottom lane. And then the little Sorcerer in the middle, even though it's just one Sorcerer, it's getting so many curses out that it really does impact that value and elevate the Sorcerer to another level. And I really want to emphasize this on this map, because I've been wanting to use the Sorcerer for so long, but I just feel like it doesn't get enough value for most of the spots in this game. And so since this is basically smack dab in the middle with both lanes, and it does a nice job of separating its attacks from one lane to another, that I feel like it does get enough value to where it's actually useful. Although I don't usually upgrade it, and if you're wondering, I always go for the archer towers to get upgraded first, although sometimes I adjust based on what boosters I need to counter. And then if you ever feel like you have extra gold, I always put it into that sorcerer, because it hasn't really felt like I've had the chance to upgrade it more than I'd like to. And that's because there's a lot of magic-resistant boosters. Again, I'm dealing with a Broodmother, dealing with a lot of other things like dragons on these maps. And so if I was playing like Snowy Mountains or maybe Bandit's Lair, I would go for a lot more Sorcerer Mages because I'm going to need to get that magic damage out. But here, it's just mainly Tesla, Royal Archers, Ingvar. That's basically what does most of the job. And then just that extra curse from the Sorcerer allows the other towers to get more value. But now, since there are a few high armor troops coming down that left lane, I put a Sorcerer Mage there to take care of him. That way I can move Bearclaw to where the Broodmother is, and I don't have to worry about microing him back to that other lane, because that walking distance for him really cuts away from his value. It's really difficult sometimes because you want Bearclaw to be on troops every single second that he's alive, and that's not always easy to do. But his bear form helps a lot with that because it increases his survivability, and so that's another reason I really like that bear form. But Trump is doing a really nice job of being resilient here, hitting me with the thanks. He's obviously clearly a little bit mad. However, I think that if he had swapped those mage towers for the Royal Archers, it would have been a lot more successful, or even another artillery, because he was able to deal with the dragon, but the mage towers just don't do anything to the Broodmother or the dragon, so he's not getting as much value out of them as he would like. And he is going to have to deal with a lot of tanky troops, like, again, I have the Sorcerers there for that same reason, and that's probably what Trump is thinking here. But he's got a much bigger problem on his hand, and that's dealing with those boosters. And another reason I like Ingvar is because he works so nicely with my spell combo. When I use Icy Zone and when I use Stun, if he does his move where he swings around doing that AoE damage, it's just like another lightning attack, basically, for everything on the ground. And so if you're able to time that up, get everything nicely synergized, it's crazy value, and it's something that I was not expecting when playing with this hero. And it's a lot of fun as well. You know, using melee heroes is not easy. I haven't had really a chance to use Geralt yet. And Hacksaw definitely has his place, especially in those bandit layer maps where you can take out those marauders with his one shot. But Hacksaw does struggle against bosses, and I can imagine that Ingvar would too, because he doesn't have a lot of ranged abilities. And so that's something to keep in mind when using him as well. You want to get these runs in early. You don't want to use him in Stadium probably. And so at least I was able to find this kind of strategy using him. But again, it's not perfect, and that's what you're going to see here. I blew a 3-1 lead against Iris here, and shout out to Iris because they did a really good job of recognizing how to shut down Ingvar, and that was by spamming Teslas. Not for the damage on his side, but for that stun ability. The stun just completely shuts down Ingvar, it shuts down my barbarians, and when I'm not able to get that splash damage on everything coming through, it makes it impossible for me to get any value from him. So then at that point, why do I even have a hero? And that can feel like that when you're using Allura or using Deirdre, and then your opponent has sniper shots or something like that. Being able to take your opponent's hero off the board when it's part of their core strategy can be really important in winning a lot of these matches. And so keep that in mind as well. I don't really have a lot of disruption potential with this deck other than the stun from the Tesla, but since I only have one Tesla up, it doesn't really matter. And so my main goal is to just take out everything as fast as possible and hope that my opponent can't take out what they have. And I was finding success, but again, it's not going to be very successful. So I'm just having fun with it. It was really cool to see how Ingvar was able to perform on these maps, as well as the Sorcerer. So it can be rock, paper, scissors based on what deck you're going against, but otherwise it's a lot of fun to play. Good luck in your next battles, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.